hello, welcome if you're new here, and welcome back if you're not. I have been away, as some of you know, dealing with medical issues with my MS. I was having issues with vision and balance, so I was out of commission for quite a while, but I'm here now. I'm here to talk about the books that I read in January, February, and March. So let's start. In the beginning of January, I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I gave that 4.5 blossoms. This is a rom-com. It was perfect to start the month off with. I really could find that I related to Chloe and her need to just not let her chronic illness keep her from enjoying her life and living it to the best that it could possibly be. And I just found her really funny and relatable in so many ways. Next, I read Crave by Tracy Wolff. I gave it a 3.5 blossom. This is a YA paranormal fantasy that takes place in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. There's vampires, werewolves, witches, dragons. There's just stuff. Lots of stuff. It's campy. Kind of makes fun of the whole Twilight-ish stuff. So I was amused. Was it the best book? No. Also not the worst. I found it entertaining. And then I decided, I guess I'll continue to read for this read along that's happening with Clinton and his friends. Hope, and I can't remember the other people. I'm so bad at this. Anyways, it's still going on. It's going to be going on for the next few months. So if somebody wanted to join, I will leave links down below. Next, another read along. The Discworld read along. It's Around the Disc in 80 Days with Leanne. I think I've mentioned this in the last video. I decided to go ahead with it, and I read the first two books for January, and that was The Color of Magic, which I gave a 3.5 blossom, and The Light Fantastic, which I gave a 3.5 blossom. This is Terry Prachett's Discworld series, and I'm enjoying it so far. I find it very funny. It's like fantasy meets Monty Python. I am amused. That's all I can say. I can't wait to read the rest of these books because some of the things that happens are so silly and like man-eating luggage. Death. I love Death as a character. He's probably one of my favorites. I then read the third book in the Beartown trilogy. I read Beartown at the beginning of 2022 and then Us Against You at the end of 2022, and now I'm finishing off that trilogy. Wow. Fredrik Backman, another 5 blossom read. This is literary fiction. It goes into some very deep, troubling places sometimes. You will need tissues. Trust me when I say do your research before going in. There are a lot of things that happen that can be very triggering for many people. I'm aware of this. These things don't really bother me much, but they might be difficult for other people. I still recommend this. This series is so good. This trilogy was really, it's gonna stick for a while. I also take part in Noria's Patreon buddy reads, and our vote for the month of January was Lola and the Millionaires Part 1 and Part 2. It was a world where you have alphas, omegas, and betas, and the world is like set up like a pack, different packs, and Lola has been treated very harshly, and then she meets her pack and things happen, and very, very spicy. Very spicy. Very spicy. I gave Part 1 3.5 blossoms and Part 2 4 blossoms. It's very, very adult. I then read The Body in the Garden by Katharine Schellman, and I gave that cozy mystery a 4 blossom. I then found out that there was a Kristoffalong happening where people are reading J. Kristoff's books. And I was like, hey, there's some books that I have in my Kindle that I haven't read yet, that I spent money on, and I think I want to read them. So I decided, hey, I'll do the read along. Maybe reread some stuff. Maybe when they get to those certain books that I haven't read yet, I'll read them and I'll actually get them read. Because part of my goals this year is to finish sequels and possibly series so that I can focus on new stuff. New stuff. So I reread Nevernight with them. Now, amusing story. I first off, it's still a 5 blossom for me. Second, I'm not somebody that will read a footnote if it's not included on the page that I'm reading. So I never read the footnotes with those books. Apparently I missed some stuff, or I missed out on something. So listening to the audiobook, I actually got to hear those footnotes. It's like reading it for the first time. Again, it was great. Next, I discovered Firefly, Big Damn Hero by James Lovegrove. It's sci-fi, and yes, it's based off of the TV show. I didn't even know that there were books, so I said, why not? It's one of my favorites, and every now and then I have myself a little Firefly-a-thon where I just watch it again from beginning to end, and I end with Serenity. It makes me very happy. I gave this 4 blossoms. Kind of took me back. I could actually picture all of the different actors in all of the different scenes, and I enjoyed it. One of my things is to finish sequels, right? Or to finish series, or to finish collections of books. I like Jane Austen. I found some Jane Austen audios, and I listened to them. I listened to Sense and Sensibility, which I gave 4 blossoms. Northanger Abbey, which I gave 4 blossoms. Pride and Prejudice, which was a reread for me. I gave that 5 blossoms again. I don't think that's ever going to change. And then I read Mansfield Park, which I gave 3.5 blossoms. Not my favorite. I think it's the gothic thing. I don't care for that. I then picked up another cozy mystery that's historic. It takes place, I think, after World War I or II, and it happens in Egypt. And it was Murder at the Manor House by Erica Ruth Neubauer. And I think I'm going to continue that series, just like I'm going to continue the Kathleen Schellman series as well. And I gave that a 4 blossom. Kindle was doing a little giveaway thing where they would give you $5 worth of book or something if you read so many books in a week or 5 days. So I went ahead and I picked some stories, and I found this one. It was called The Story Keeper. I didn't realize that it was like the second book in like a trilogy or something, but it didn't matter. I went ahead and I listened to it, and it's by Lisa Wingate. And I gave that 4 blossoms. This is about a woman who is working for a publishing company. She comes upon this manuscript that's just appears on her desk. She thinks it's coming from the "you do not ever touch" pile, and she thinks about trying to get it back there before she, gets caught with something she's not supposed to have. But then her curiosity gets the better of her, and she has a feeling that this particular manuscript for this book is something that actually is written by somebody who might live where she grew up, and she ends up going back to her home state, and it's also close to the area where she grew up as a child, and so she comes face to face with her family as well, and she has reasons why she sort of left it behind and didn't want to deal with it and didn't want to have anything to do with the family anymore. there's a lot of dynamics when it comes to family, and um, the story is really cool because you also get the story that's written about this woman, and they always thought that maybe it was like a legend. It was all, it was just a really good story. I really liked it. It was an unexpected read. I didn't know what it was about when I went into it, and I didn't know I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. A pleasant surprise. I had one DNF for January, and that was Once More Upon a Time by Roshani Chokshi, I think. Yes. It is just a little novella. It was like a little fairy tale. I just wasn't in the mood for it. I think I'm going to just call it a soft DNF. I might go back to it some other time. So that was pretty good. January, I had 16 books and one DNF. Not bad. In February, I continued my reading of Jane Austen books. I reread 2 more books. That was Emma and Persuasion. I gave Emma 4 blossoms, and Persuasion, I gave 5 blossoms. These are classic romance, and I don't know what it is about books like that. I just really enjoy them. I then found out that there was going to be a read-along for the Samantha Shannon series, and so I read The Pale Dreamer for that. That was their first book for February. It's just a novella. Then my sister got after me for reading a novella that was sort of like was written to be something that was adding to a story that had been written just before that. Even though it was a prequel, I should have waited. But I'm like, but it was the book that was chosen. So then we got into this discussion about reading by publication date versus reading by, where the book goes in the series type thing. I kind of get it because I do that with my J.R. Ward books. I don't read the .0 whatevers that are supposedly like prequels of other books because I feel like it adds to what I've already been reading. So yeah, she was making sense, but then she also dropped this other thing that Samantha Shannon's going to be rewriting the Bone Season for the 10th anniversary edition that's coming out, and I might want to wait. So I decided to wait. After The Pale Dreamer, I picked up Tolkien Silmarillion, and I was able to actually read this while listening to it. I would stop every now and then and I would watch a podcast / video that some creators put together as they were reading it. They would have a discussion. So I'll put a link down below to that. It was so nice to be able to finally pick up a book and actually hold it in my hands and read along to it. This is not like a story like you normally read where there's lots of dialogue, and it's mostly a history of how the elves came to Middle Earth. If you're going into this expecting dialogue and action-packed scenes and whatnot, that's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is more of a history, as I said, and I found it quite fascinating and I enjoyed it. And speaking of that, I also picked up after this the Children of Hurin, and there is a version of that in this, but the actual story has a little bit more to it, and there's a little bit more dialogue, and it is a tragic, sad story. There is no happy ending to the Children of Hurin. It's very tragic, but I enjoyed it still, and I gave that 4 blossoms, both this and that, 4 blossoms each. Next, the next 2 books. Books number 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Books number 3 and 4 of the Discworld by Terry Prachett. I picked up Equal Rights, which I gave 5 blossoms, and Mort, which I gave 4.5 blossoms. As I said before, fantasy meets Monty Python. These are amusing. I was excited to read Equal Rights because my friend told me I would really like one of the witches that they talk about, And I really did. And I get why she really likes her. She's also become one of my favorite characters along with Death. So I like Death very much. And I also like, oh crap, what's it? Granny. Granny Weather. Crap. Why can't I ever remember? Anyways, Granny. I then needed the buzzword. I needed a verb. So where an action that you're doing something. So I picked up The Forest of Forgetting, which is just a bunch of short stories put together, and it is by Theodora Ross. This is fantasy, magical realism, a little mix of different stories in those realms. I gave it overall a 3.75 Blossom. I finally picked up the final book in the trilogy of The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi, and that was The Bronze Beasts. I gave that a 4.75 Blossom. It is YA fantasy. I loved this friend group with Severo and Severin. That's different. Severo is Red Rising, which is on my brain, and you'll find out soon why. This is Severin and his friends, and I really like the way that it ended. I was happy with the ending. Also in February, I read Strangers in the Promised Land, which is a novella that takes place after the end of this book, Seventh Cadence. This is part of the Continua series by Jim Wilbourne. This is, oh, I can't say enough. I really hope that they're going to be more of the Continuous soon, because this was just a taste of what more could possibly come. So I read this, and it's about two of our side characters, the sisters, Amy and Mara, and I really like how their relationship, you start to see it change in this book, and how that happens and how that comes to be. Jim Wilbourne writes so beautifully, and I can't wait. I love the bookmark too. I want more. I want more, and I can't wait. I can't wait for him to write some more in this world. This wasn't enough, Jim. Just saying. I need book 2. I need book 2. Yeah. So for the month of February, I had 10 books that I read and 1 DNF, and that would be Crushed by Tracy Wolff. I finally realized, as I was reading it, about 40 chapters in or so, that I was not connecting with the characters or the story in any way. I was like, I didn't care, and that was just a really weird feeling. It's like, I'm reading this just to find out if she finally yells at her cousin to tell her that her favorite color is not pink in any form. I'm sorry. I tried. We're finally at March. The first book in March that we finished was Chef's Kiss by TJ Alexander. This is part of Noria's Patreon pick, and I did give it 4 blossoms. It was a pick that Sarah had asked us out of a few books to as it was her birthday month, and it was such a good book. She was right. She's been asking to every time she puts this in, and finally we all said, yes, let's read it. It was rom-com. It was really sweet. I really enjoyed it. We have 2 characters that are opposites that are working together. They're thrown together. One who's just not okay with chaos at all, and another that's just all they are is chaos. But they're fun. Next, I read the 2 works for the Discworld read-along. I read Sorcery, which I gave 3.5 blossoms, and The Weird Sisters, which I gave 4 blossoms. I'm having so much fun with Terry Prachett series. I can't wait to see what happens next. The next book I picked up was a independent author read. It was A Forest of Vanity and Valor by A.P. Beswick. I'm enjoying his books so far. I've only read just this one, and I'm getting ready to start another. This is a dark fantasy retelling, and in this case, it is a Robin Hood retelling, and I don't know what I was expecting, but I gave it 4 blossoms. The next book I picked up was Court of Lions by Samaya Dodd. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I gave it 4 blossoms. Court of Lions is the second book in the Mirage duology, and I really liked Mirage a lot, and this was a nice book. I liked the way that it continued, and I liked the way that it ended. Next, I realized I needed a buzzword for the month, so I picked up something that had to do with secrets. This had the word lie in it, so I read a nonfiction, which is not really my style. It was The Gluten Lie, 8 Myths and... The Gluten Lie and Other Myths About What We Eat. I gave it 4 blossoms, but I think I need to change that to more of a 3. It's by Alan Levenwitz, PhD. I finished off March with a Shannon Maguire. Lost in the Moment and Found. This was a 5 blossom read for me. This has some trigger warnings in the very beginning to do with parent death and grooming of a minor, so go into this knowing that those triggers are there. I do like that she talks about them. Yeah, this was really good. I want to know if we end up seeing this world again in play in future books, because I'm pretty sure she's not done. I loved how this came to full circle in the end, and I love the character of Antsy. She's such a, I don't know, I want to say intuitive, smart kid who, you know, if it hadn't been for that, things could have been so much worse. I mean, every book has some sort of trauma that these kids are dealing with, and that's why, you know, these doors are opening for them, and these worlds are safe havens for them from the world that they're actually in. And yeah, this was really good, so good. And now I can let my friend Tab borrow this book when I go back to work at the end of this week. So yeah, she's going to be so excited to read this, and I told her she's going to love it. She's really going to love it. So that's it. That was January, February, and March. Those are all the books that I read and consumed. I tried a couple of read-alongs. I didn't end up reading or rereading any more of the Nevernight Chronicles. I just decided if they get to one of the ones that I have, great. If not, I'll read them on my own. So my focus, I guess, is going to be on the Discworld read along. It's going to be on the buddy reads that I'm doing, and it's going to be on getting my buzzword books done, because I am doing that challenge for the year. I'm enjoying that very much. And so, yeah, it's been great. One of the things that I would like to talk about before I close is that I've made a little bit of a change down in the description. I will be adding my wish list that I finally did create a wish list. In fact, I had somebody like go in and just see if it was there and if it was accessible. And what I didn't know was, while they were in there making sure it was accessible, this happened. I didn't expect this. So a few days after I had my bookish friend Sarah, test out my link to make sure that it was actually accessible for people to use. She sent me some bookish mail, and this is what was in it. I wanted to start collecting these because I want this series on my shelf. And this is book 1, and I have already read it. I will be rereading it after the third book comes out later this year. But this is book 1, Fires of Vengeance, which is really good for book 2, is the next one I need to get. But Sarah has started my collection for me, which I'm so thankful for. And this came on a day when I really needed it. I was going in for another treatment for the steroid, and on top of that, I had an MRI that morning, so it had been a long day, and I was exhausted, and I'm just thankful that she thought to send me something special to make me feel happy. That was very sweet of her. I'm very thankful for my bookish friends. Speaking of books coming, I got book mail, and I waited till now to open it. Let's find out. I know what it is. It's just, oh my God, that noise is so. Number 21 from the Black Dagger Brotherhood. Not that I haven't been reading all the other books in between. It sounds so trash for her. I love it. This is Lassiter. Lassiter likes Golden Girls rerun show, and he's into making his own calendars, wearing assless chaps and stuff. He is usually your comic relief, but lately he's been a little. I'm so excited. Now I have a problem. Because I was going to start reading this today, which is why I got Severed and Severo mixed up, because I've been thinking about to do this. So I was going to read this today. That's not going to happen. In a few minutes, I gotta get ready. In a few minutes, I gotta jump on the Noria's Patreon too, because we're doing a buddy read of a new book. But yeah, oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna stay focused on the book that we're reading in a few minutes when all I can think about is what's next to me. Hi, Lassie. Anyways, until next time, happy reading, everybody.